Today is Saturday, April 20th, 2024. Welcome to the Survivor Fans Podcast. I'm Joanne.
And I'm Stacy.
And this is the listener feedback show for Survivor 46, Week 8.
Week 8, and Q has stirred them up. Got 26 super fans ready to talk about this episode. It just came rolling in this week, didn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, did great. A lot of it was in early. Deeply appreciate that. And is there anything we need to cover before we dive in?
Nope, let's do it.
Right to it. Here's Pete.
Hey, Joanne and Stacy. This is Pete from Boston calling here. Wow, am I completely shell-shocked. Whoa, baby. So I'm going to let out a great big whoa. Oh, man. I did not see that coming at all. Tevin getting voted out. I mean, yes, was he a threat? Absolutely. He was good in challenges, likable. He was a strategist, a social player. He was the whole 9 yards, but I really thought he had some good, not just with his meat shield Hunter, but I thought he had some good with Q and Charlie, Maria. It all started with Tiffany there, I feel like, and things went down south. But real quick, guys, I want to mention that Probst negotiation thing with the rice. Jeff saying 4, and they were trying to say 3. I thought it would have been good if they sucked him into doing 3, but he wasn't having it because he said it wasn't even half. And even thought Charlie was somewhat going to convince him too when he kept fighting, but it wasn't meant to be. And the first time in this so-called new era, there was no negotiation and everyone participated. Wow. Liz, we saw a lot of Liz strategize, and I'm going to give her some credit for orchestrating the Tevin vote a little bit, but I don't know, it might have been partially Maria and Charlie, Kenzie and Tiff in the middle of it too, and then it really looked like that Tiff was going to get blindsided with the idol in her pocket, but Q, that guy is something. He's a chameleon, I think. He can be funny, like the hide-and-seek game. He can be a solid strategist, but he can also be a drill sergeant, and I think that's what's going to hurt him next week, based on the next on. Now, honestly, I did not buy him quitting at all. I got to hear what Probst said in the podcast, and even if Tevin believed it, because I didn't believe it at all. I think he was playing it up to make amends when he ran his mouth with Hunter right before Tribal, and that's what led to that live Tribal, and man, it was epic, even though mostly everyone voted for Tevin, but Hunter and Tevin himself. But one quick thing, guys, do you think Hunter was thinking about giving Tevin the idol, or did Tevin even know about Hunter's idol? That could have been a big move for those two, but Hunter held on to it, so we'll see. Good luck to Hunter now, but the 3 old Yami guys are staying strong right now, but I don't know, Q doesn't look good now. I'll have to check out Tevin's interview, of course, but this was awesome, though. Great episode. Loved it, and take care.
Woo, thanks, Pete. Tevin did not know about Hunter's idol. Didn't have the first clue. So Hunter,
I was pretty sure he hadn't told anyone.
So far, through day 16, has done really well. And he didn't let on anything.
I imagine he's pretty sure he's going to need that at some point. Mm-hmm. Because, nobody ever wins all of the challenges.
It's very, very rare for that to happen, indeed. And Hunter didn't win the previous one, so yeah. He could go on a streak towards the end, but like we talked about, he certainly raised his threat profile too. Other fans are talking about that this week also. In Tevin's interviews, it was interesting. He gave some more details between the exchange with him and Venus and how that actually went down. In the edit that we got to see, it was Venus went to Tevin, but he said in reality he had gone to her, and he spent a lot of time trying to make some kind of connection with her to establish some basis to work from, but in the end he couldn't get her to reciprocate. He did great communication skills stuff where he said, I'll say what I think is your perspective, you say what you think is my perspective, to see if we can see we're on the same page. And it didn't matter what he said. She would never take his point of view to demonstrate that she understood it. She would just say, you're misunderstanding me. It was always about Venus.
Yep.
No surprise there, I guess, in that regard. So that was interesting. The interviews, I'd say, are worth it. He gives some deeper background, but he had no idea what Q was up to either. He was completely baffled by the whole thing.
I don't think anybody did, not even Q.
Yeah, I think we've got some fans that are thinking along similar lines, but we got a multitude of perspectives this week, so let's keep rolling. Next up, we got a call from Christiana.
Hi, Joanne and Stacy. This is Christiana from Massachusetts calling in with my feedback for this week. I've been a little behind this season, watching episodes sometimes a week later, so I haven't been able to leave feedback, but I did watch live this week, and I'm so glad I did to see that bleep show of a tribal council. But going backwards a little bit, I have a little bit of a different read on the Venus Tevin Soda situation than you all, and then even my friends did as well. And I don't know if I'm being played by Venus, but I find her to be pretty savvy in the context of the game, and smart and willing and excited to take risks. And Stacy, you summed it up perfectly, that she has no social capital. I think that is exactly accurate for whatever reason. And I mean, I think those reasons are she can be abrasive. She's not super self-aware, but I feel like she has the right ideas, and very similar to Jake from last season, even though as people they're completely different. Just she can't get anything off the ground. People won't play with her. People don't take her seriously. And that's unfortunate. And I don't, in my opinion, think that Tevin not making the move is a move. You definitely can argue there are right times and wrong times to make quote unquote big moves in Survivor. And maybe he didn't want the blood on his hands from Soda. But I don't know. A lot of times I feel like that's an excuse. It really reminds me of Laurel from Ghost Island, of thinking about cutting Wendell and Dom and then being like, no, I'm actually going to go to the end with them, thinking that's a move when Laurel, they're going to beat you. And they clearly did. So with Tevin, it didn't impress me that he didn't make the move to take out his biggest ally. In my opinion, that would have been the move. And Venus did that. And then in the next episode, in this episode from this week, she wanted Tevin out. She was in that group that wanted Tevin out, and Tevin left. So she's 2 for 2 in her rivals, so to speak, leaving. So I enjoy her. I do not think she's going to win. I think she has a really uphill battle and a lot of votes to get through when she's sort of the default vote. But I don't know. I don't dislike her. I feel like a lot of people don't like her. But also, the Alliance of 6, what a joke. That is an opposite of alliance because they're only voting for each other. So I don't know what that is, but it's certainly not an alliance. It's actually the opposite of an alliance. And I don't know what they think they're doing, but that's not it. And then finally, just the Q, the whole tribal council thing. It is wild that this is now the second time this season he has done this. Kenzie literally joked in the previous episode, like, oh, he's going to change the vote and be like, vote for me, vote for me. And then he literally did that. That's definitely why they showed that. He bothers me so much. He thinks he's so in control. I don't know why they're letting him narrate this season. I can't imagine that he gets much farther than this. Maybe he does. That would be wild. But he can go as far as I'm concerned. You're not being savvy. You're not being a martyr. You're quitting. Let's call a spade a spade. Anyway, I got to wrap it up. Great to call in. Excited to hear what everyone else has to say. Have a great week. Bye.
Awesome. Great to hear from you, Christiana.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with anything she said about Venus. I think Venus definitely, I was very impressed by, her observation of the other players during hide and seek as well.
Yeah, it was kind of on that goofy line that Q had too, that somehow they correlate perfectly when that's the farthest thing from reality.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to see her paired with Q in that analysis.
Well, what I do like is that Venus is playing the game. The only thing I think is she doesn't have any chance of winning. Nobody's
appear
going to give her I just don't believe that she does. And the main reason I see that she's not doing well in the game is she can't get past her own stuff. She hasn't had enough life yet to work through all of her stuff. And she still reacts to all the things in her life. She reacts to anything people say. She reacts first.
I think I saw she shut down her Twitter/X account, so she wasn't liking some of the blowback she was getting there.
Yeah, and I think most people that are in the public eye probably need to do that. Just not read. It's just crap. I still don't read it.
Christiana and I are different in that I look and I from what I saw Tevin do that, and he had told Soda he wouldn't write her name down, so he didn't. But he seemed to be the one that called the shot and rallied the votes for it. And then this week it was Liz. It wasn't Venus again. She's going to take credit for it. She's more than likely, and I would be surprised if she didn't see it just the way Christiana said it, which is she's got two of her rivals out.
Well, nobody's going to see that, though, because Liz was so very adamant all the way through. No matter what anyone said, she continued to say, I am voting for Tevin, period. Doesn't matter what you guys decide. Go ahead and do what you do. I'm voting for Tevin.
Yeah, and we've rewatched, and it looked like it was just sort of purely emotional. Don't take credit for something that I wanted credit for.
Yeah.
In both cases.
And I'm going to show everybody that I'm here to play, blah, blah.
Yeah. Interesting. All right, good job. Great to hear from you again, Christiana. Next up, we got an email from Christine-n-Jade from Hawaii. Aloha, Joanne and Stacy. Christine says, it was an odd sort of episode, wasn't it? Especially the tribal council. This is different. We don't normally get written from a couple. Huh? It was an odd sort of episode, wasn't it? Especially the tribal council. It was hard to follow Q's logic of volunteering to be voted out. Everyone was baffled by it and scrambling. I was so sad to see Tevin go, not only because he is my new USB, but I genuinely wanted to see him play more. He made a big mistake by disregarding Liz and focusing too much on Venus. There are so many egos in this game, indeed. Watching them play hide and seek was kind of fun to watch. Hunter's reminded me more of Ozzy with his tree climbing talents. And then from Jade, I guess Hunter doesn't want Tevin in the game that much. I'm surprised Hunter didn't play his idol for Tevin. But this leads me to my theory. People aren't really playing the Alliance game this season because everyone's so paranoid and the game moves so quickly. Everyone is only out for themselves. Yeah, it's an interesting take. The forcing function of the shorter season. Maria and Charlie seem to have the only unshakable alliance left. I would have said Tiff and Kenzie are close too, but this episode makes me question whether any of these alliances can stand the test of extreme paranoia. The new era in general seems to lack more than one or two core alliances every season, but 46 seems like a particularly selfish season. What do you think, Joanne and Stacy?
I don't know if it's selfish or just that they're there to play hard and for nobody else.
Trying to think about that, selfish. I think certainly Venus that embodies that. I feel like that's a great word for how she's looking at it. The main character, me moment. But
I
then
don't
you
know
have
if
these
it's selfish, but more self-centered.
You have okay. I don't know if I know the difference between those two.
Okay.
Really, the finer points of that. But you've also got to wrap it up in. Here's Liz playing what appears to be sheer emotion. Here's Q that's yo-yoing like crazy. Can't really sustain a direction for more than an hour or so, or it's just you got to have somebody walk up and give a different spin on something or present a potential threat, and he flip-flops a different way. There's some erratic players, and I don't want a cast full of game bots. I don't think that would, well, that might be interesting to a degree, but I like personalities. I like the diversities, the differences, and how people approach things. But if you try to think of the game in, I'm going to assume they're going to do what's in their best interest.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm trying to figure out what somebody else's next move is, and you got people that don't work that way. It's just like in Gabon with Sugar. And she just decided, well, I don't care anything about winning. And so
no, I don't think it was she didn't care. I think it was she didn't believe she could win. And I thought she could have if she continued to play.
The result of that was...
Is she let go of trying to win.
Exactly. And when that happens, or you got somebody there, it's the ones that come for the adventure or they always mess the game up in some way in that regard. So I think you've definitely got some folks like that. And Ben just seems to be completely out of his depth being out there. There's an extra video with him where Maria is grilling him. She's just sure that he knows something about that Beware advantage that she found that Jim had hidden the clue for. And she was sure Tim and Ben had set her up somehow. And he just breaks down crying again. He's not suited for being out there. He's not actively engaged in playing. So you got all that. Yeah. Is it selfish? Is it a selfish season?
Okay, I think you probably answered her question good enough.
All right. Well, we took a run at it. I don't think we really got to the end of that. I'm going to keep mulling that over. By the way, did anyone else see that commercial for Meta's virtual survivor game? I'm one of those elderly millennials that thinks robots are going to take over the world. So, in my view, this was a step toward a nightmare dystopian scenario. I'm not for it. Okay, so I won't talk to you at all about generative AI.
Yeah, don't get it
everything
started.
That's happening in the AI space right now.
Yep.
Or the new Atlas robot. You want to get spooked? Go search for the new Atlas robot.
Stop it.
Looking forward to hearing your predictions and all the super fan feedback. Thanks. Thank you, Christine-n-Jade. Next up, we got a call from Robert.
Hey, Joanne, Stacey, and Survivor fans. This is Robert from Canada calling in. Well, I thought that this was another really strong episode, albeit it had a little bit of a strange ending. But I really enjoyed the immunity challenge this episode. It's a classic. And I was really happy that Jeff's negotiations kind of failed and he was left with the rice because Negotiation Jeff is one of my least favorite versions of Jeff. I really wanted to see everyone compete in the challenge. So I had Venus go in this episode. So I thought I was going to not have a chance considering she looked like she's locked solid there. But once again, Hunter pulls it out and you just wonder how many more of these immunity challenges can he pull out. I think as much as a lot of us have been commenting on some of the poor casting decisions, this season does have some really good players in it like Charlie, Hunter, Maria, and Tevin. I'm really sad to see Tevin go, like you, Stacey. Just some of the moments he had this episode when he was putting up with Venus and some of the things that she was saying, and just he's a really impressive player, and I'm kind of sad that he left the game so early. This episode was definitely the Q show, and at Tribal Council it took a little bit of a turn towards the bizarre. And it's funny because Q's had moments in this season where it seems like he's got a good sense of things going on, and then he just says and does some of these outlandish things, and I think he thinks he's like Albert Einstein or he thinks he's a mob boss, but to me he's a lot closer to Simple Jack from Tropic Thunder sometimes in the way he says things, like the whole hide and seek, this is a mistake, that's a mistake, this is a mistake, and I don't know. So in the moment when Q was wanting to quit, I kind of just wanted to go home just because I've run out of patience for people quitting in the game. So I think it's sad because Tevin wanted to stay, he wanted to play, so send Q packing, I don't care. But anyway, I just wonder, I'm curious if people generally think, did Tevin get rid of Soda too early? And now did Liz target Tevin too early? Because Tevin, for Liz, clearly had her as his basically number one, even though she wasn't the number one alliance. He was brought there with Hunter, but it seemed like he expected Liz to be loyal, and I think he would have been loyal to Liz. So I don't know if it was a mistake targeting Tevin too early. I'm curious to see what happens next week, especially how Hunter rebounds without having someone more going like Tevin in his alliance. So for my prediction, I don't know. You gotta put a prediction on Q probably screwing up his own game and going home. I'm very excited to see Tiffany bring Q back down to earth and really tear him down next week. I think that's going to be great. So that's it for my predictions and thoughts. I look forward to hearing else's feedback. You guys just take care.
Thanks, Robert. I'm with you. I want to see Tiffany take him down a notch or two also. And see if he's got anything in terms of a response. I don't believe so, but we'll see.
If I were her, I would probably not take him down. I'd just take him out.
Yeah.
If I had the power. If I could get the votes. But there were so many people that didn't want him to go. But I'm wondering, after Tribal Council, when they have time to think about it, are they really want to keep him around when he's just so all over the place?
There's that boat ride back from tribal council to their camp, to the Nui Nui camp, that they can't talk to each other. So you just get to sit with your thoughts. And I got to believe there's a bunch of them on that ride back going, this isn't worth it.
I keep seeing Q sitting out on the beach on a seesaw. He's up, he's down. He's up, he's down.
Yeah.
It's like all over the place. Jeez.
Thanks, Robert. Good job. Next up, we got a call from Rebecca.
Hi, Joanne and Stacy. This is Rebecca calling from Northern California. And that was a confusing episode. That was so confusing. Q was all over the place from, I'm going to assess everybody's gameplay by playing hide and seek. No, they're just playing hide and seek. It's not that somebody's a mastermind because they're able to camouflage themselves and somebody's not paying attention to the game because they weren't able to camouflage themselves. I just kind of feel like sometimes Q's just throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks from, I didn't try that hard in that challenge, and that's why I was out early, too. If you vote against my alliance, you're out, too. Oh, I'm going to vote against my own alliance. He's a very confusing, chaotic player. And that performance at the tribal, I mean, if I was in the game, that would be the point where I'd be, okay, we're done. We're totally done. Because the point of, I think it was Tiffany, or maybe it was Kenzie, who's saying, you could be blowing up my moves 10 moves down that I'm already planning on days from now by your behavior right now. And it was really fun watching everybody go into the voting booth and be like, I just don't even know what's going on. But to what end he did this, I don't know. And if he comes back next episode going, it was just a test, I think my head will blow up. I was really sad to see Tevin go. I love Tevin. I love the way he speaks. I love his theatrics. I just love his personality. I will look forward to seeing him on the jury. I really wanted him to stay longer. I love that he wouldn't correct Venus when she thought that move was hers, and I'm going to save it for the final tribal. Yay, Tevin. But you got voted out because you are that good, and you are a threat. And, to Q for a second, when he was so dead set on if you go against my rock-solid alliance of 6, which is the shakiest alliance of all history, according to Charlie and Troop, how quick was he to just be like, okay, I guess we're voting Kevin out? I'm watching it going, but that is part of the alliance of 6. Very, very interesting. I'm really glad Tiffany did not get voted out. I was impressed by her ability to kind of shake and move in the threat of being voted out, because I did choose her as my new USB. So impressed by Hunter. It's like he was born in a lab to play Survivor. And I think he's going to do okay. I think he's got enough gameplay in him that even though his number 1 got voted out, I think he's got enough gameplay left in him. Anyway, I am headed up to Tahoe and see my friend who crashed her car to take care of her, and I'm bringing her soup. The soup I made last week. It's in a cooler on ice, and I'm going to play nursemaid over the weekend. Hope everyone is having a beautiful weekend. Can't wait to see what everyone else has to say. And thank you, Joanne and Stacy.
It's a beautiful drive heading up there this weekend, and beautiful up there, even though it was snowing last weekend.
Yep, a lot.
Yeah.
I am interested to see if Hunter can play the social game, because he depended a lot on Tevin.
Seemed that way,
to
right?
do that side of it.
Yeah.
And or guide him through that. He's not comfortable with it most of the time. You know, sometimes you see him if it's a like one-on-one or something, and he does okay. But yeah, I'm not sure how that's going to work out with him having to play that side all on his own.
Yeah, curious about that too. Thanks, Rebecca. Next up, got an email from Jack in California.
Hi, all Survivor fans. It has been a while since I sent in some feedback, but I'm still enjoying this season immensely. Here's some brief thoughts I had about the last few episodes before I get into this one. I like how Hunter is playing the game and how he was able to find the hidden idol before everyone showed up for the merge. For the Journey Survivor logo puzzle, I want to say I would do pretty well with that. but I also know that I would get some in the wrong order, or not remember every season and when it was on. As to this most recent episode, there's a lot to talk about, mostly from Q and what he has done. I understand the importance of staying in game mode, but there has got to be a time to enjoy the experience as well. And I see Q wanting to go and not relax and enjoy the time out there. I'm not saying he isn't enjoying himself, since he did have fun with the Q skirt, but it's an interesting idea, and I feel easily put together. It was an interesting look into Q's mind when they all decided to play hide and seek out there, and I did like how he suggested playing it as a strategic way to look at his remaining competition. All of this said, what the heck was he trying to accomplish at that tribal council, saying vote me out, with no indication at all beforehand? That tribal was insane, and I just can't stop thinking about it. I want to watch the upcoming episode right away just to see the repercussions of it. I have a feeling the rest of this community also will talk a lot about this tribal, and I'm interested in hearing what others thought about it. I, for one, just don't understand why he did it, and I can see his game changing a lot because of it, and not in a good way. Liz is playing a really nice game in organizing the Tevin vote out, and we can see that she is playing her game and not just following along with orders, and that could make her go far. But is it too little too late? Every season there is talk about a 6-person alliance who want to wait until they are left to battle it out to the end. But without fail, it never works out, and this season is no different. I'm happy to see that Charlie understands that and keeps options open. When I saw what the challenge was this time, I knew based on the hide and seek game that Hunter had a really good shot of winning this one. I can see from the rice negotiation that these are players that no one really wanted to step down from competing, and I totally respect that and think they are all there to win and battle to the very end. Jelinski, even though he was the very first person out this year, is definitely getting his recognition and is becoming an icon for Survivor in a way he probably wasn't expecting in the Survivor community, with several being the new 7. I love how this cast brings it up just for some fun interactions, and it seems like everyone out there is just having a blast. I love how much fun this cast is, and I can see a lot more fun coming our way the rest of this season. It would not surprise me at this point if Jelinski gets asked back to play in a returning season. All right, thanks, Jack. Up next, we have a call from Rashmi.
Hello, Joanne and Stacy and all my Survivor friends. Wow, well, that was some episode. One of the weirdest episodes of Survivor I've ever watched. Well, I must say I enjoyed the hide and seek better than the immunity challenge. The hide and seek game was good fun, though the logic behind Q's thinking was really far-fetched. At least I didn't get much of it. Now, Tevin, good riddance. I got a vote of point. Yay for that. But he was a big threat, big deal. He was just fixated on Venus, and his last vote also went to Venus, and karma bit him because he's gone. Venus is still in. Go on, Venus. Let's see. I'm sure you're going to last next episode as well, because Q should be voted off. He is totally gone cray-cray there. I do hope either Kenzie or Liz wins the game, but we'll see, because Ben is not doing much. And I think Tiffany, now that everybody knows about her idol, is in grave danger of getting voted off. But Q, oh gosh, he should be gone. And that's where I will be putting my pick on him to go next week. Oh, and just to add on, I don't know if I'll be able to watch the episode next week, because after 4 years, my son, who's now living permanently in America, is finally coming home, and he'll be here for 3 weeks with his bride. So I don't think I'll be able to sneak in an episode. I'll try, but I don't think I'll be able to, and I might miss out on a couple of episodes. Okay, cheers, bye.
Cheers, Rashmi. I think you got a great reason to miss out.
We hope you have a great time.
Next up, we got a call from TitoBurrito.
Oh, boy. This is TitoBurrito calling from Massachusetts, Boston to be specific. And the way that my breath was taken away in not the good way multiple times by Q and Hunter throughout this episode, it might put this into one of the worst 3 tribal / worst 3 episodes in history for me. And that's saying a lot for as many seasons of Survivor that exist. So firstly, I'm actually going to be giving some awards away to different people. Let's start with Q for the Just Vote Me Out Guys award, because this is the 3rd time that he's asked to be voted out. That's just wild. We got Hunter with the Why'd You Do That award. First of all, why did you show a card that makes you look stronger in front of everyone after you've already won the challenge? And that's something you could have potentially saved for an all-star season if you come back to where now you have that in your back pocket still. So the fact that he's like, I have to show this now that I won, that makes me think that he's just not thinking clear beyond just that moment. But yes, of course, food, he hasn't had much. So maybe that's why. The mess award, as per usual, goes to Venus. Venus, you're the perfect mess. You are in the clear and you still will just rock the boats. So perfect award for you. The other award that I have is the undercover award. I did not see Charlie potentially being a threat for most challenges, and so far Charlie's held his own, so I'm going to give him that award. And my last and definitely least award goes to Rock On for Ben. So I think that's all I have for today. I'm still confused. I'm going to have to rewatch this episode back and see why everything went down the way it did. I mean, I'm going to be honest, I know why. It's really because Q messed up, threw his number 1 under the bus after they showed some suspicion, and then just tried to damage control. But that was not good damage control. But yeah, I'm going to have to rewatch because something just didn't fit for me. Hopefully everyone else enjoyed the episode a little bit more than I did. Have a good one. TitoBurrito out. Oh, and a fun little aside, just something that came to mind. Every time that I listen to the podcast nowadays, and I've been listening for a little while now, when you start your intro and you say Joanne and you say, and I'm Stacy, I say, and I'm Stacy, and then I get a nice little belly laugh out of that. First of all, I'm not Stacy, but I've just gotten so into the rhythm of enjoying your intro and your cadence that I now say it along with you. So Excellent. Just wanted to put that out there as well.
Good job.
That's cute. Thanks for sharing that.
Good stuff. Thanks, Tito. Next up, we got an email from Jen in California. Hi, everyone. I've been sick for the last few days and can't pull proper feedback together. But I want to say that this episode was so crazy. I'm sorry to see Tevin get voted out, and I hope that Q's time in the game ends sooner rather than later.
Yes.
Can't wait to listen to the feedback show to hear what everyone has to say. Cheers. Thanks, Jen. We hope you get better soon. Next up, we got a call from David in Oklahoma.
Hey, Joanne and Stacey. This is David from Oklahoma calling in to just ask what the heck happened this week. I'm honestly still confused after watching Tribal, and I'm still confused on what Q's plan is. I hear a lot of people saying it was kind of like Zayn Knight things from the Philippines, and I think that's probably what it is. But I'm honestly still confused. Why would you go in Tribal and just say, oh, I'm quitting, when everyone knows that you're not quitting? It's like confusing, and I don't know what the plan was there. Also, Tiffany's now in trouble because she was in a decent spot. She was playing the middle, but now everyone's got a target on her. But I feel like this just gives Kenzie and Charlie a little more room to run around with, honestly, because Charlie has now made friends with the Yahoo people and are now working with them now because he told Tiffany about what Q was saying. And Kenzie's just kind of floating, honestly. I haven't seen much of her. On all reality, Liz, who said she did this blindside, I don't think she's going to get the credit for it because it's Liz. She's got a lot of money, and people who have a lot of money on Survivor typically don't really win. On my predictions on who's going to win the season, I think I'm still going to have to go with Charlie, to be honest, because I've been with Charlie this entire season, even though people have been on the Hunter bandwagon. But I still think Charlie has it. He's in a good spot. He's in the middle. And I feel like at the end of the day, he will win. Love the podcast. Talk to you later. Bye.
Thanks, David. Yeah, I think you're onto something with the Charlie piece there. That is compelling, and that's that Sega tribe potentially holding together. Although you watch that extra video with Maria and Ben, and you'll start to wonder how tight they really are, because it didn't take much from her to just sort of completely disrupt his day. But yeah, you got the Benzie-Ken alliance, what'd they call it? The Chill Alliance going. So it's possible they could reform there for sure. The Zane Knight theory is interesting. That was the kind of the Bugs Bunny reverse psychology kind of thing. Hey, I'll ask them to vote me out, and just to see who bites in terms of a strategic play. Except he kind of kept saying it, and they just went, yeah, sure, we had to literally carry you through the end of the challenge because you showed up out here without getting off the nicotine. You stopped smoking just before the game started. Ran out of breath in the challenge that Matt Singh ended up losing, and then said, vote me out. And he said it multiple times. Yeah, anyway. In terms of knucklehead moves, I can see how people might equate those. And it does sound like that cartoon reverse psychology would be the kind of thing that Q would potentially be thinking. Well, we'll see if that lines up. Hopefully we'll get some more details.
Okay. Do you think the decision to vote off Tevin could have had something to do with evening the tribes out? Like, now we have 3 old Siga, 3 old Nami, and 3 old Yanu. Mm-hmm. Do you think that had something to do with it too? I mean, nobody was highlighting it that way, but
I thought to answer your question, I didn't look at it that way. We talked about that in a listener feedback show last week. Someone had said that, right? Was it?
I don't know.
Anyway, there was a 3-3-3 discussion, and then there was kind of Venus hanging out there. So I guess it does fit. It is convenient, and I thought that was more a convenience thing than anything else. It's like what we were going to do is completely scrambled by Buckethead Q here with this vote me out play that he's sprung on everyone. So what's like the simplest, straightforward thing we can do? Who's a name? Okay, we'll go with that.
Well, and maybe he did it for that reason, because he saw it was going to be Tiffany, had a change of heart, and after he set the whole thing in motion. And,
We've gone back and rewatched it and rewatched specific parts multiple times. And from the best we could tell, it was the guilt over Tiffany that shook him to come to this.
And yet he didn't look guilty to me. He didn't have that demeanor.
The things he was saying, the noble quit crap that he was spewing out.
I'm not sure I bought any of that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See,
I think he was just trying to get enough votes for Tevin to save Tiffany.
We weren't clear. He didn't seem to be offering any clear direction when people were talking to him during the live tribal either. He didn't seem to be much help. But that could have just been stuff that was withheld from us too.
Well, and I'm anxious to find out why Charlie ran over and told Tiffany that Q told him she had an idol, him and Maria. Mm-hmm. So,
it works to the theory that he was positing earlier in the episode, which is this 6 is a mess.
Yeah.
These cracks are an ocean wide.
Yep.
So why not put it out there?
Well, and if Q said anybody targeting the 6 have to go home, well, he's the main one targeting.
From Tim to Tiffany, yeah. He was driving that.
Yep.
And as far as Charlie knows, Q's just quit, so he owes him nothing.
Yeah.
Right? So he can tell Tiffany. Interesting. Yeah, good stuff. Thanks, David. Next up, we got a call from Anderson.
Hey, Joanna, Stacy. This is Anderson calling from North Carolina. And my thoughts on this episode, hide and seek was pointless. Why do you need to know how somebody plays the game on their hiding skills? That's not how it should work. Hunter was obviously going to win that challenge, and Tiff I got nervous when they started saying her name.
Yeah.
And I was, oh no, my new USB is going to get voted out. But no, they get rid of Tevin. And I put Q as my vote. And I'm going to do that again because Q just needs to go. I cannot stand him. I cannot stand Venus. I cannot stand like half this cast. I don't like Hunter. He's showboating on his climbing skills. He's way too dangerous. He needs to go. A lot of the other physical threats need to go too. From right now, the final three would be Kenzie, Ben, and Tiffany. Tiffany could change. Yes, that's my thoughts. Next week, I think that if Q doesn't win immunity, he's going to get voted out because of what he said at Tribal, and he just destroyed his whole game at Tribal. Thanks.
Wow, Anderson. That's who wins. If it's Ben, Kenzie, and Tiffany, who wins? It could be Kenzie on that kind of scenario.
Yeah, it depends.
I think she's the most social.
Kenzie and Tiffany have fallen into the background a bit right now. And Kenzie said that's exactly where she wanted to be. She didn't want Yanu calling the shots, especially not this time. She wanted some of that heat and focus off.
But they can easily replace, because Maria's not making it easy on Ben either to be in their group. So I could totally see them ditching Q and bringing Ben into their group and have their three. Or they could pretend to be with the old Sega and, but Ben goes with them.
Yeah, Ben wouldn't have any chance outsmarting Kenzie or Tiffany or outplaying them. So that would probably be a good move on their part. Yeah, anyone. Yeah. Well, I don't know.
I don't think he could outsmart Charlie or Maria either.
But Liz is still there, and she's playing emotionally from what we can see. Yep. I so wish they had given all that time they wasted on Banu because they thought they were doing this grand storytelling thing. You can see all the phases of grief, and we've represented that in the edit. If they'd just taken some of that time and given us a little more of Liz's backstory, I might could have enjoyed this more. It's such a hollow thing because we had nothing on Liz coming into this, and we didn't even get a lot in the episode other than I'm voting Tevin, and they're getting credit for what I wanted to do. This is her whole story right now.
Well, you had a chance to do an interview. Okay.
Thanks, Anderson. Next up, we got an email from AnnHall in Virginia.
Hey, Joanne and Stacy. I have listened to your podcast for years and love it.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. You and everyone who leaves feedback feel like old friends, and I love to hear everyone's views each week.
Yeah, we do
I am
too.
a 60-year-old woman and have never left any feedback, but I do love your show. I have a quick question regarding the last episode. When the first vote-off team returned to camp and Tiff and Kenzie were talking with Ben while Q was having a fit because they weren't talking strategy, where was Hunter? I almost forgot he was on that team until he popped up and said, "Hello, Venus." Where was he, I wonder? Thanks. All right. Thanks, AnnHall. You want to tell where he was?
I had a similar experience. I was wondering where he was too because they didn't show him when they returned. But you do see him when Q is being aggravated and complaining because they're down there in the shelter, kikiing and hee-heeing and ha-haing, and he wanted to talk strategy. You can actually see Hunter starting the fire at that point. So he was there, but he wasn't.
He
didn't
taking
appear,
care of business.
Yeah, he didn't appear actively engaged. He was getting the.
He's much more comfortable getting the fire started than participating in the yakking.
That would be
as Q was.
our takeaway from what was shown, at least.
Yeah.
So that was it too. But you're right. When they walked back in, you don't see him. He's not visible at that point. So I was thinking, oh, maybe did he actually go down to the beach with Q and then double back? Maybe that's why. I don't know the full answer. But you do see him before he acknowledges Venus coming back. You can see him getting the fire going when Ben is wondering what they have to offer based on what just happened.
They were shocked that Venus came back.
Yeah, that was good.
They didn't get her.
Great to hear from you. Thanks, AnnHall. Next up, we got a call from Drew.
Hey, Joanna, Stacy. Hey, everyone. This is Drew. So I did put Vixen this week. I actually went with
Good
Q,
job.
and for most of the episode, I was like, dang, not even bringing up his name. It's not even coming up once. And then the tribal council asked, what is going on? What is going on? And I had a spark of hope. I do think he's going to try to pull it was all a big manipulation. It was all a big mind game. That's how deep I'm playing, you guys. I'm playing on a completely different level. But I think Tiff should hold him accountable for that. That was, okay, from the start to finish, Q was a mess this episode. The hide and seek, I don't think it's the metaphor that he thinks it is. I don't think that it's the tell that he thinks it is. The Q skirt, I can't. At the risk of saying something untoward, I'm just going to say it's awkward as can be. I don't like it. I know it's conversational. I know it's just playing around, but I'm like, no. That's stupid. That's not how a kangaroo pouch works. No. And then just the tribal council shenanigans. When Hunter just leaned over and rolled his eyes and said, this is the dumbest thing ever. That's literally what I was saying in my head. This dude is my spirit animal. Hunter, whether you win or lose, that moment won me over forever. I mean, he did awesome in the challenge. He did awesome in the hide and seek. His story is playing out really well. So there used to be this show on some terrible teen Canadian channel that we would get on cable. My younger sister would watch it, even though it was terrible. It was kind of like a reality show for teenagers. It's called Girls versus Boys, and it was almost like Survivor because they were on this kind of resort. I mean, they were living in basically a beach house, but they would have challenges of the boys against girls, and there was drama, and there was dating. And my sister was, if they put me on this show, they would either love me or hate me because I'd just be in the corner observing everything and making fun of everyone and how stupid they all are. And I felt like that moment was a lot like Hunter. He was like so real in a way that people on Survivor are like, oh, they're so real, but I feel like that was a real moment. And so that's what he brings. That's what he brings to tribal council. That's what he brings to the game. Whether or not he wins, he's in my heart of hearts, my USB. But I hope everyone has a great weekend. Yeah, it's hard to say what's next. I didn't expect Kevin, but I don't know. I think that if Q keeps going like this, they'll just, no, too much of a liability. There's no certainty. There's no security. You got to go. And maybe I'll put him down next week, too. Okay, talk to you later. Bye.
Thanks, Drew. Enjoyed that. Next up, we got a call from David.
Hey, Joanna and Stacy. It's David in Pittsburgh. And as to that tribal council, WTH, what the heck? Q has tried to quit in the past when he didn't get his way. He said, go ahead and vote me out a couple of times. The one time when he didn't win the challenge. And I've seen the people on social media are saying that they think it's a strategy. I do not. I think it's an effort for him to kind of gain some control again that he feels that he's lost, and he wants to go out on his terms. I think it was last season when Sean did the same thing. He told everybody to vote them out, and they did, but this time they did not vote Q out. Everything about Q is my rules, my control, my game, and he calls himself a mob boss. When somebody in his alliance doesn't do what he wants them to do, they're out. So he takes his number one ally and throws her under the bus. We've seen alliances form and fall apart in one episode. The Women's Alliance, when Charlie Maria took over, they dropped that immediately. But I thought the +1 alliance was brilliant. There you had 6 players, and now that they're in a team of 10, they have control for the next several votes. But then one after the other, somebody throws somebody on the bus. Q was the one who got rid of Tim, and I can understand he wasn't playing the game. He wasn't even playing the game. So after all that craziness at the tribal council, there's only one thing that I can figure out. I lost my second USB. So now I'm done with that. I always say there are people on Survivor playing to win, and then there are people on Survivor playing just not to be voted out. And right now there are very few people playing to win. Tevin was one of them. He's gone. Now Liz stepped up, but I think it's too little too late. We've seen Charlie and Maria strategizing, but I think Charlie seems to be more in the playing to win mode, and Tiffany and Kenzie and Q, the three of them, if they would stay together, I think they could make a lot of decisions for the game. But with Q, I'm saying get rid of Q next time. Just kick him out and then move on from there. Anyway, it was a great tribal council. I have no idea who's going to go home next week. Bye.
Excellent. Thanks, David.
You know, something that I observed this episode as well is that, and even maybe last episode, they're starting, they were showing Maria in a certain light and how great she was with certain moves and observations, but now they're showing a harder, more inflexible side of her.
How much of that is colored by that extra clip, though? The one where she was talking to Ben?
Well, it is colored by that.
Because that's an extra clip, and it's not relevant to the story. They left it out for some reason.
True, but we did see other stuff where she wasn't being as flexible, even with Venus and, where she was very blunt. They're showing more shots where she's being very blunt with people.
Okay.
And not finessing her answers like she had been doing, or keeping it to herself till she was ready to talk about it. So that's why I was wondering if they're starting to try to shift how we see her.
I guess so, because there was that perspective that we took in the beginning. Maybe it was on us, but we were looking at that alliance with Charlie, the Charlie's Angels, and we thought, wow, she's just sitting in a great place. Yeah. She seems to be the one more actively driving
easygoing, laid back.
Turned out there was nothing to Charlie's Angels. It was just an ephemeral kind of thing, something to say in passing that day, and it never really held anything. And
they are starting to highlight Charlie more, too.
Charlie came off better than anyone in this episode. Yeah. On a second watch, it was really the Charlie show. That was my takeaway. If there's someone who's being presented...
Playing, lay back, watching, analyzing...
All positives.
Acting, yeah.
All positives for him, and in different aspects, too. And even in the extra clips, there's positives for him. He's the one who comes to comfort Ben after Maria crushes his hopes and makes him cry. So, all right, good stuff. Thanks, David. We are blessed with Davids this week in the Listener Feedback Show. Here's David number 3 from the OC. Hi, Joanne and Stacy. In honor of one of the most enjoyable episodes I can remember, as well as the birthday of your number one fan, my lovely wife, Laura. Happy birthday, Laura. I thought I'd comment on the Q conundrum. Why would someone with so many connections in the game, someone who had flexed so much power in deciding who went home and who was just 10 days away from the chance to win $1 million, suddenly want to quit? Because there was something more important to Q than winning. He needed power. All season long, we've watched him command others what to do. The plan always had to be his. He always told, never listened. Q is the coach who must be in charge every second and is never to be challenged by his players. Anyone who suggests a plan different than his own, even if his closest ally is suddenly the enemy. But inevitably, the tribe was going to get small enough for Q to realize that no one else was playing for him. So after 15 days of barking out orders, he was faced with the fact that he couldn't force anyone to talk strategy after tribal council, quit a challenge for Rice, or vote for Tiffany. By the time tribal council rolled around, he figured there was only one person he could command people to vote off: himself. He might be out of the game, but at least he was the one who orchestrated the blind side. If everyone wouldn't play by Q's rules, he'd just take his ball and go. And I think he soon will. But when the majority says so, not him. Keep up the great work. Thanks, David.
Yeah, I like that perspective.
That's some compelling analysis right there.
You betcha. And I'm good with that. I'm really ready to, even though Q can be cute at times when he's being funny and all, but I think I've had enough of the Q show. And his need to just always be in power and have everyone just do what he says. So...
Yeah, might be onto something there.
I don't respond well to that.
Good job, David. Next up, we got a call from Parker.
Hey, it's Parker from Indiana, and I have a lot of thoughts on this episode. I think this is the best episode of this season so far. So much was going on. and I think it's really compelling. I know that other people are going to touch on the challenge and hide and seek and tribal council and all that stuff. So I want to take a different approach. Right before the season started, Jeff had an interview with Rob Cesarino. In said interview, Jeff mentioned how Survivor's not going to have any more villains. That's not where he sees the show going. He's done looking for those people, the era of Survivor where it's just big fights and arguments and stuff all the time. That's not what Jeff wants. And Twitter lost their mind. Rob then posted this whole article where he was, I think this is what Jeff means. He's not saying how. It's hard to explain because Jeff is saying he doesn't want any more villains, but what do we perceive a villain as in the context of Survivor? Because Q, I think right now is a villain, and I think Venus is a villain, and I think Tevin is a villain, and Soda is a villain. But Jeff doesn't see any of them as villains, which is wild, right? But I think what Jeff means, and this is what Rob said as well, is that Jeff isn't looking for Johnny Fairplay anymore. Like, you're not just going to get this over-the-top, obnoxious character that just goes on the show to be the biggest villain the show's ever seen. You're not going to get that anymore. And we're not going to get seasons like Gabon or One World or Worlds Apart where it's just obnoxious, brutal fights and arguments all season, which, in my opinion, good, because I hate that version of Survivor. That just gets ugly and personal. That Survivor sucks to me. But anyway, I love how they're editing these players in the new era. There's lots of problems with it, but there's a lot good with it. Because in the 20s, I think Q could just very well be the angry black guy on Survivor. And Venus could just be like a Courtney Yates or a Abby Maria, and some people love that. But I think Venus is a lot more compelling when we actually see both a sympathetic side to her and also this absolutely terrible social game that she has and these jerky comments all the time and stuff like that. I think that's way more compelling than just her having these snarky, bitey confessionals, and that's it. With Q, in the Yanu days, he was this heroic underdog figure, and then Merge hit, and he's just complete 180, and now has this obnoxious ego, but he also has these incredibly funny moments, and he's super layered and compelling, and I love it. He was all over this episode. This was Q's episode. It's also probably his worst episode of the season. He had some terrible gameplay on display, but he was also hilarious and insufferable at the same time. There's more than just a one-note person there, which is what Jeff meant. I love that they're aware of that and they're not just editing these people in this one-note way, and like how Liz isn't just completely buried in the season, and how they told the story of Liz wanting to get out Tevin, and how Tevin and Soda were shown kind of antagonistic to Venus and like making her feel left out and bullied and all of that. But then also you have Venus just being completely brash and just having this awful gameplay with other people. And there's so many different stuff going on. I think this is great. I think it's super compelling. I hope that all made sense. That's why I love this episode in particular, because of how layered all the dynamics and all the characters were. I think that's great. And I think that's something that the new era is getting really well. That's all I got. I will see you all next time.
Awesome.
Very well stated, Parker.
Yeah, I think there's something to that. The extra time in the episodes is helping them show additional layers. I struggle to think of Liz as having more than a one-note edit at this point.
Well, and I don't think Q changed that much from Yanu, personally. I saw a lot of that, you know, he wanted to quit over there too. Oh, just vote me out, blah, blah, blah. And basically Tiffany's like, shut up, you know I'm not doing that. So, yeah, I saw parts of that too. But I do like that they show a lot more of their personalities.
Right, and a great point you were making is that it's not just here's this stereotype that we've cast, and that was the bane of the early seasons. If there was the bad side, there would always be that, and every once in a while you get someone who was savvy to that, and they would be aware of it consciously and actively work to subvert that they were knowingly cast to be this stereotype part.
Well, when we were doing the interviews, we heard it over and over and over again that I swear I didn't just say that stuff all the time. They
Right.
just printed every single thing, and they didn't print anything else. They made me look like that's all I talked about, and that's not true. But,
Oh, yeah.
you know, and they did because they figured out what role they were to play, and they took the I mean, come on, they got 24/7 footage for a lot more days back then, and they had plenty of footage where someone does say something over and over, and they're like, that's all they ever talk about.
Right.
But that's the edit.
Yeah. Yep. That's for sure. So I appreciate that we're getting a more nuanced edit in a lot of cases, but I think they're still doing some folks dirty in that regard too. Yeah, that's very thought-provoking. Thanks, Parker. Next up, we got a call from Shahin.
Hi, Joanne, Stacey, and all the Survivor fans. Hope everyone's well and safe. I mean, I might not be well. I hope everyone else is well, but I might not be well because I just watched the most goofiest episode of Survivor ever. Central to it was Q. And I think Q and that type of player is a really problematic person to have in the game. And at this point, he has no agency. I think he doesn't actually have agency at all. This is kind of what we call the game-ending move for him. Mm-hmm. And don't think that he created some sort of chaos. There are two notions of thought here as to why he did what he did. And one of them would be to create chaos. And if that were the case, then he got his way, quote unquote. But the second and more believable notion is that he engineered a quit. And I don't want to say it's to quit like the first two that we saw last season, that we saw explicitly quit. This was a quit because I have no control of my game. And the problem is that we've seen this time and time again. The narrative is built with Q that when Q doesn't have control of a certain situation, or it feels like, not that he let his team down, he let himself down. And that's really pivotal here and real key. Then he feels like he has to quit because he has no control and he feels like he's lost agency in his own right in the game. Not that he thinks that he has a right to win the game. He thinks he is the game. So when he talks about playing Q's game, if you don't play Q's game and Q is not playing Q's game, then the game is over. And the game is over for him. And he'd rather not be part of it because it will sully his image. That's what I think anyway. And I think the times that we've seen him, with the Jelinski sweat or smart challenge where Jelinski said that he actually tried to quit and it wasn't me that initiated it first, and then him fumbling a week or two later in their immunity challenge, and then the whole fumbling the ball, Burnett came up. That was a build-up of this type of behavior. And I think what he needs to understand is that you do not need to have control 100% of the time. Mm-hmm. It's not important. And he simply did this because he felt like he had no control in the game. He lost his agency, and he has lost his agency now. He has no way to win this game at all. Right now, he's just a joke. And the thing is, what I find really admirable from Marianne and her season is that she showed that you can win the game without having absolute control. You can have control at the right part, at the most optimal part of the game. She had control towards the end of her season, and that was what was most important. And I think he needs to learn that. It's too late for him now, but it's like probably a life lesson, because I feel like he is probably in control of everything in his life all the time, and sometimes you just need to let go. Anyway, I got 4 points. I'm towards the top, so what can I say? It's a good season once again for me in JSFL. Thanks for all that you do. Cheers.
I like that JSFL spin on the end. I'm doing great. Yeah, definitely. There's probably something to that. Enjoyed that. Thanks, Shahin. Next up, we got a call from Brandon.
Hey there, Joanne and Stacey. Brandon from Indiana, coming to you with my thoughts after episode 8 of season 46. What an episode that was. I really enjoyed it, mostly because of the way that the tribal council had so many people that were voting, so many people that were possibly up for elimination, and then just the wildness of what took place. By the end of it, it felt a lot like much of what the survivors were saying, and just like, this was the dumbest thing. we went through this whole ordeal, but it was entertaining. Q is definitely a character, and maybe this shows a little bit more about why they threw him, Jelinski, and Banu onto the same tribe. I do have to say, as much as I'm enjoying this season so far, I have also been watching Australian Survivor, Heroes versus Villains from a little bit ago, and I am enjoying that almost more. I don't know if it's just because I have access to it all, so I don't have to wait each time between episodes, but I have been really, really enjoying the way that show is structured. I love that a lot of the reward challenges have a weird monkey's paw twist to them, with the pizza party turning out to be boxes of frozen pizza, the bakery bonanza being you have to choose who gets the smallest portion in your tribe and who gets the largest portion in the giant chocolate cake. I love that element that Australian Survivor has kept in the game that I feel like U.S. Survivor has dropped in place of rock draws and randomness. And I get that nobody has a sure footing when things are random, but the fun isn't necessarily nobody has... Snakes and Ladders is not a fun board game to watch people play. There's not much strategy there. I would rather watch someone play a game like Settlers of Catan or something where there is some strategy, where what they do builds up and they have to deal with the consequences of the things that they've built up or failed to build up, rather than just they might have gotten lucky and a rock draw put them on the group with all the tall people in the tribe. So yeah, I'm small complaints only because of the comparison, but I'm glad that I at least have access to both in this wonderful world that is Survivor. Can't wait to see what happens next. I feel like Q might be in trouble, but it seemed almost like he had gotten back in lockstep with Tiff and Kenzie right before the vote. But I can't imagine that they're going to be real excited about the display that he put on there and the chaos that he caused at that tribal council. I'm bummed that Tevin is gone. I'm bummed that the Andy Griffith alliance is dead. But hide and seek was a lot of fun to watch. Like I said earlier in the season, the bowling, the making crafts and stuff at camp. I love seeing all of that stuff from these players and seeing how they pass their time. And I thought that was a lot of fun. So we'll see what happens next week. Can't wait to hear what everyone else has to say. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Brandon. We purposely do not watch those together. Because the seasons, the Australian season, while we're watching a U.S. season, they don't compare. It's not fair to the U.S. Survivor anymore. The U.S. version is such a budget version.
Well, for me, I would get them mixed. I would be thinking of the wrong parts of it. That's too much for my little brain to handle.
Yeah, but that season in particular was just phenomenal. That's so outstanding. I can't imagine watching that while watching one of these. Yeah. Good stuff. Thanks, Brandon. Next up, we got an email from Thomas in Toronto, Canada.
Well, that was an interesting tribal council. What on earth was Q thinking? Also, it seems like what Jelinski said in his interview might have had more truth than what people originally thought because of Q's comments after it. Yeah. It seems that Q is the type of person who, rather than fail at something, he just quits and considers that it didn't happen or gets someone else to take the blame for it. If he had been voted out, would he have been branded a quitter?
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, Thomas.
What do you think of Thomas's question? I say 100%.
Technically, no.
If he
we couldn't. I'm talking about game now. Technically, if they went with it and voted him out, then he is considered voted out. Would I personally consider him a quitter? Yes.
Just like we did Sean last season.
But as far as JSFL, technically, no, it's a vote out. That's the difference
that's the difference you're making. Okay,
yes,
gotcha.
That's the distinction.
There are lots of ways to quit. We've seen a multitude of different types of quits over the season. Next up, we got a call from Brandon.
Wow. What's up, y'all? This is Brandon from Northeast Ohio. So yeah, me and my friends just got done watching that episode, and we are completely flabbergasted. We have wow. That's all I can say. I'm kind of speechless, which is ironic because I just called in to give feedback. So seems like counterproductive, but whatever. So the one thing I will say. Yay, Andy Griffith Alliance done. No more Andy Griffith. I'm so happy. Woo. Just like Pete was saying. Or something similar to what Pete was saying. But I actually was not rooting for Tevin to go there. I wanted Venus or Q to go, okay? I've not been a fan of Venus basically since Brandyn left, but there was like a couple weeks where I kind of was still rooting for her a little bit just based off of underdog status and want her to upset the apple cart. But these last couple episodes, just how clueless she was about her role in the vote, no, she gotta go. But it's so ironic because I think Tevin was the orchestrator of this soda thing, and yet he goes, and oh my gosh, all this chaos. I think I'm gonna ramble for over this 3 minutes. I don't even know what to say, but I thought this was a fantastic episode, even before the vote. I will say that. And I'm pretty sure I lost some safe points. So I'm scared that I might have to do some singing later on at the end of the season. I don't want to, but oh yeah, one more thing I wanted to say. Now Liz wants to start playing. Once I switched my USB 24 off of her and switched it onto a USB 10, who I think is Tiff, by the way. I forgot who I chose. Yeah, I've kept up with making my picks, but I completely forgot who I picked as my winner pick. But I think it's Tiff. But yeah, so I thought that was kind of crazy that, yeah, now she finally started playing after I done switched her up. So if she ends up making a run and winning, I will be livid, probably. Or I'll think it's hilarious. Anyway, I'm done. Peace.
Peace. Thanks,
Brandyn, honey, you're in number one.
The side challenge.
In the side challenge. You're not in any jeopardy right now.
Yeah. See how he manages the safe picks from here.
That's right.
Next up.
See how we manage them from
Next
here,
up,
too.
we got a call from Hannah.
Hi, guys. My name is Hannah, and I love your podcast. I wanted to stop in and say hello and tell you how wonderful I think your show is. I think you guys do a great job, and I enjoy listening to you every single week.
Thank you.
As far as last night's episode, OMG. Q has got to go. He's annoying at this point. The flip-flopping has got to go, and I think Tiff and Kenzie are absolutely onto it. My favorite takeaway, though, from last night's episode is when Hunter and Charlie were up on the poles and the editing team did like this really awesome animalistic soundbite over it where they were looking at each other. I thought that was hilarious. I agree with you on Hunter being a little bit of a showboat. That could have definitely put a bigger target on his back because he's already got one because he's amazing at challenges. Hunter is absolutely my pick for the win. I hope he can just play it smart and keep in his lane and do it. Yeah, I'm originally from Mississippi, so gotta stick with my Mississippi boy. Once again, thanks so much. I love your show and can't wait to hear it on next week. All right.
Excellent. Thanks, Hannah. Great to hear from you.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Next up, we got a call from Justin.
Hey, Joanne and Stacy and all the Survivor super fans. It's Justin from Michigan. So I'll get right into it on my opinions on Q. He is going to be the talk of the town for this week, I'm sure. It's kind of funny that Liz felt like she was robbed out of the credit for the soda vote, and then she was going to make this big move against Tevin, and now because of Q's antics, nobody's talking about Liz, and people really aren't even really talking about Tevin leaving, who is such a big character. So Q has taken over this season. I think he has over 50 confessionals on the season already, so he is the main character. I said last week that he was making waves and Venus was the agent of chaos. I mean, Venus and Q, what are they going to do? They are just their own entities, and that is hard to play with, but it's very entertaining for us. I mean, this group should be trying to get out Q and Venus. I'm sure Q is going to lead next week's episode with a confessional about, wow, everything went according to plan. This was perfect. I still haven't figured out what that would be yet. I'm interested to hear, because I'm sure he's not just going to own up to, oh, wow, I was actually going to quit, but then I changed my mind. I am still very confused. I'm eager to hear what his rationale was, because I haven't heard a good explanation or a good theory of what this could have been strategically. So I'm curious what he comes up with, because he's gonna own this as a mastermind move. So next week I do have Q leaving. He's my USB. He is entertaining. I like all of the Q skirt and the hide and seek. I like all that, but as far as the game of Survivor goes, I think he's got to go. So that's all I got. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Justin. Yeah, we're looking forward to that, too. Next up, we got an email from Josh, the Plush Moose from Massachusetts. Dear Joanne and Stacy, wow, just wow. That's the theme. That could be the listener feedback episode title. I can't wait for the post-tribal confessionals on Wednesday. My other observations. Next week, Q will divulge his brilliant fake quit plan. It will involve Acme products. Exactly. Hunter claims to be a teacher, but he actually performs for Cirque du Soleil. To paraphrase Dr. Freud, sometimes hide and seek is just a game of hide and seek. Q isn't a mob boss, but he tries to play one on TV. Ben's rock scale only has 2 values. Rocks does not rock. The Q skirt needs a warning label to avoid kangaroos. In the next episode, I predict that Venus will take credit for Tevin's ousting. Q wants to be a scary game bot, but he's more like the old video game character Qbert. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that. Tevin planned to explain his game at Final 3. Now he can do it at Ponderosa. Q football players do take the blame for bad plays, but they don't quit the game. In 8th grade, I invented a few products, but didn't follow through. Like Liz, I got no credit. Charlie aced the job interview with Q, but it was only for an entry-level position. The Six is like a rock band from the 70s that keeps touring with replacement members. Charlie wakes up at sunrise to talk to people. The Early Birds Alliance? Ooh, good one. Yeah, they totally missed that, didn't they? Did anyone else notice that Liz's accent comes and goes? I saw some people talking about that this week. Yeah, depends on who she's talking to, huh? I think she even tweeted something about that. She said she knows she does it, and when she's talking to people from different parts of the country, she catches herself doing it, and then when she realizes it, she thinks, well, okay, so what do I do now? Do I stop talking that way? Do I look like an even bigger doofus? Anyway, yes, it's definitely been noted. Tevin created a chessboard, but I guess he was playing checkers. If Venus ever does manage to drive a blindside, she'll probably be the target. That would be beautiful, wouldn't it? A nuisance is better than a threat until you're trapped with them at Ponderosa. Words that start with Q: querulous, quizzing, quirky, questionable, quasi-quitter. The Shaky Six doesn't sound like an alliance that would get me to the $1 million. Another good alliance name. Q's game is based on being trustworthy. To him, ad slogan, Trader Jeff's instant rice. It's gone before you know it. It wasn't surprising that Q had trouble getting a grip. On Jeff's podcast, he said that the producers carefully choose when to offer the rice. Since there wasn't a deal, I predict that there'll be a challenge where they're given a short time to run around collecting packets of rice. Yeah, he did say that there would be another opportunity for him to get rice. After the season, Hunter will sell cameo appearances that include virtual pole dances. Tevin said he was a peacock. Now he's a dead duck. Does anyone know if Hunter was a college athlete? Tevin has monkey toes. He'd have won if they had to build something with their bare feet. Shockingly, the dictionary's definition of alliance doesn't show a picture of the Six. Yes. We had a live tribal because multiple people hadn't done their 10,000 steps that day. It's official, next season will be called Survivor 40 Several. The players don't agree on much, but they agreed that it was the dumbest tribal ever. Tevin bears no animosity to the tribe. Snails and slugs are considered delicacies in Fiji. Yeah, he did tell them to eat snails and slugs, didn't he? Next time, someone is stupid and dumb. Venus deals with 2 dumb meatheads, and Q wants to cancel Christmas again. Is he the Grinch in disguise? Anyway, that's it from me for now. Thanks, Joanne and Stacy, for all you do. I can't wait to hear what the other fans have to say. Stay safe, everybody. Thanks, Josh. Good job. Next up, we got a call from Jill.
Hi, Joe and Stacey. Hi, Survivor fans. Jill in the Outback here. Oh no, Q wants to quit again. Oh no, what shall we do? I can't believe they didn't just send him away. It would drive me nuts having to pander to somebody and, oh no, please don't quit, please don't quit. Just quit. Do it and get it over and done with. And I just bet that next week we hear that it was his plan to test his alliance like it was when he fell off the balancing on the water pyramid thingy. Surely the stupidest way to test your alliance ends in you being voted in. The man just has absolutely no idea, and I hope he gets voted out sooner rather than later. I'm not as high on Hunter as a lot of people seem to be. He certainly does have the strength and is a challenge beast, but I think his social game is pretty crap, really. You never really see him talking to everyone else, and his strategy game isn't that good either. He isn't the one that is coming up with the plans to get rid of people. Even his alliance there last week, or this week with Tevin, he could have stuck up for him a little bit more there, but he didn't, and so now he has lost one of his stronger people. Last week's episode I thought was good fun. The challenge was fantastic, and yeah, it was just a good laugh. And for the most part, this week was pretty good as well, until Tribal Council and Q's just absurd position that he took. But the season is getting better, those first few weeks. Excuse my voice, it's just going all over the place tonight. I think the marks of the modern Survivor season is getting over those first few weeks and getting rid of the deadwood there. So I was sad to see Tevin go. He was a great narrator and was entertaining to watch. I think he just played too hard. Everyone noticed and they wanted to get rid of a perceived threat. With him gone, I think I will go for Kenzie and Tiffany now, although Q has stuffed up her game a little bit by Tiffany's game a little bit by telling about her idol. Q is just an imbecile. I think I've made my position on Q clear. Happy days, everyone. Bye.
Happy days. Thanks, Jill. Yes, crystal clear.
Yes, and I do not disagree.
Yeah, the subject line for the email when she sent her feedback in was capital Q ... UIT already. Quit already. Good stuff. Thanks, Jill. Next up, we got a call from Jeremiah.
Hello, Survivor friends. Jeremiah here with some feedback for this week's episode. But first, before I start with that, let me go ahead and give a big thank you to everyone who reached out about me and my wife having our first grandbaby. Everything, for the most part, went pretty smooth. A small little hiccup during the delivery, but baby and mommy are doing great, and he is beautiful, and I can't wait to spoil the crap out of him for the rest of his life. So thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Everything went great. So, this episode, boy, not everything went great for, obviously, Tevin for sure. Holy cow. Well, this is obviously the Q show, and I don't know if I've ever seen anything quite like it. Now, the Tribal Council, no, that wasn't the craziest Tribal Council. Come on, Jeff, he is so hyperbolic. But anyway, there's been a lot of Tribal Councils that have been nuts. But this one was wild and interesting, mainly because of what we assume was strategy by Q, I guess. I don't know. This guy is just out of control. I mean, he's TV gold, that's for sure. But, man, just a disaster. And I'm with you, Joanne. There's no way in my mind I would ever want to work with this guy from now. Kenzie and Tiffany, if they don't try to figure out how to get him out of there, I don't know what to say. I mean, they will be so much better off moving around with somebody else in this game. So, yes, the Q show, crazy. Don't understand his logic whatsoever, just like everyone else. Now, a few other things I thought. So, first of all, Charlie, I would agree with you all. I'm loving this kid more and more. He really seems to be on top of a lot of things. He's adapting. He's smart. He's making the right decisions. I'm also in the same position. I think he might be in a better spot than Maria. And I can't believe I'm saying that. But after this episode right now, that's kind of where I'm at with him. So it'll be interesting to watch his game. I was also a little disappointed, yes, in Hunter. I love Hunter to death, but I do think that he's just not cut out when it comes to the most important part of the game, which is strategizing and social game and all that stuff. He's great at the challenges, of course, but I think his chances of winning have dropped dramatically now. So, and I hate to say that, but the other thing I thought was very interesting to watch in this episode was the Liz thing. Very caught off guard because I thought we were just looking at someone who was going to be, in the final three and a no vote, third finish person. And maybe she still will be, but this edit was interesting how she was basically giving a lot of credit for this particular vote with Tevin. So she's one to watch for sure. And as far as next week is concerned, oh my gosh, if it's not Q, I don't know what else to say. I mean, Q is going to be the person I'm going to pick for next week, so we'll see what happens. All right, well, that's it for me. You all take care, and until next time, this is Jeremiah coming to you this time from the St. Louis, Missouri region. All right, bye, everybody.
Thanks, Jeremiah.
Yeah, I'm with you right now. I'm leaning heavily toward Q.
Yes.
Because that's what I would do. Be
Yes.
like, yeah, no. I'm tired of all this up and down and around and left and right. And I don't, yeah, obviously you're not with me if you told people I have an idol and if it gets out that, oh, you're the one that targeted me.
Part of your responsibility in an alliance is demonstrating that you can act reliably. You can trust no one, but you have to trust someone. You have to trust some people. And so every time you vote, every time you go to tribal council, that's a test. And he's just failing so miserably that you wouldn't want to have to count on that. By the same token, there is an opportunity for him. The other wobby-jobby wackadoodles could reach out to him if Ben could find a way to do that.
But why
Venus,
would anyone trust him?
Well, 'cause
anyone?
What the point I'm saying is you got other people who don't have options, that don't have any traction.
Actually, I think Ben does have some options.
Or very limited,
Yes.
right? You feel like, you could tell from that extra clip with him that he felt like there were very limited options available to him at this point, that because he had based his whole game on interacting with Tim, and Tim was gone, and he hadn't put any effort into working with Maria and Charlie, that he was at the end. And then Maria, she didn't offer an olive branch at all.
Yeah, I'm not sure that Ben's emotionally equipped to deal with this game.
We don't see a lot of evidence of it.
Mhm.
He gets his feelings hurt a lot, which you don't really have the time or energy for while you're out there. If you're playing to win, he was playing to vibe.
Yeah, it's hard
By his own
on his
admission.
sleeve and
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Jeremiah. Good stuff. Next up, we got a call from Paul.
Hey, Paul, Louisiana here, and oh, Venus, you are so completely unaware, so impressed with yourself that you can't even realize that the only person giving you credit for the soda vote off is yourself. Yes, she is delusional, but proud as a peacock, huh? It's a good thing she's pretty. And Q, oh my lord, does he need to be the constant center of attention or what? And you know, I'm just pretty much going to avoid the whole Q skirt thing almost altogether, save for the fact that I was embarrassed for him not for the skirt, but for the fact that he couldn't read either Tevin or Hunter's reactions throughout that whole pitch. I'm thinking that he'd be great to play poker against because this man is clueless. It's like he has blinders on and the only thing going through his head is me, me, me. And the entire hide-and-go-seek thing was also embarrassing as well, but for both Q and Venus. They just read far too much into something that's incredibly innocent. I mean, it's hide and seek. Yeah, people are going to hide. Maybe he could write a book and call it Hide and Psych by Q? Hey, and if you order before midnight, you might even be able to get a free Q skirt. So, yeah, Q and Venus are reading just far too much into these people, but only because those people can obviously play the game better than the two of them. And you know, I'm happy that no one gave up the chance for immunity for Rice. Q obviously feels comfortable in his position, but he pretty much demanded that others should give up their spot in the game so he could eat more. It's the 6, not the Q. But you know, I'm sure he dropped out of that challenge first, just to see where he stands in this new tribe. But brace yourself, because now comes my real griping. Why did that vote go the way it did? I mean, Tiff realized beyond a shadow of a doubt that Q betrayed her, and she still didn't vote for him. I mean, no one voted for him. Personally, I hate his moves, and I'm calling them moves because it sure ain't gameplay he's showing us. And Q, if you really want people to vote you out, then tell them before the tribal. Whatever he says or anyone else says, I'm sure they just throw a monkey wrench into the vote just to try to make the practically unanimous Tevin vote go away, because if he couldn't muster the votes to get Tiffany to go, then he was going to have a temper tantrum and destroy what everyone else wanted. And it didn't work. His bizarre behavior makes me think that he's more like Banu than I'd ever imagined. Maybe it's no wonder he wanted to work with Banu early on. He probably actually related to him a bit. So, yeah, I'm hoping he goes next. But somehow I think that everyone is going to let him slide by again, blinded by the Tiffany idol that's no longer a secret. Hopefully she'll play it to save herself and maybe get Q out as a side of revenge. I don't know. Let's hope. And as for our other players, well, Ben will probably become invisible now that the game has shifted into high gear. Hunter is wonderful all around, but yeah, that move of his on the pole was not a good idea. He may have an idol, but his trick will be knowing when to play it, because they aren't just going to come straight after him. It'll be a big blindside. Liz is playing a bit more now. I'm fine with her, but Kenzie is, I think, where the real win is at. As for my USB Maria, I actually think that although she had brought more people to the plate in her alliance with Charlie, it's actually Charlie that brings more strategy. I think he's playing more for himself in this alliance than Maria is for herself. And Tiffany, well, there's a target there now. So I guess it's Q next to go, but I think it's going to get messy, so who knows. We may have some idols played, which reminds me that one of the things I love about this season is that there aren't any excessive idols and advantages. Yeah, I like that a lot because it makes this season more about our players and about trust without all of the crap of advantages getting in the way. So I guess that's it for me. Everyone take care. Enjoy. Bye.
No, and it wasn't for them trying, though. They tried to get a lot of advantages in with the journeys. It's just that the people kept failing at the challenges. There could have potentially would have been more. They, as far as they're concerned, they had included enough. But I'm with you, Paul. It's been so much better not having that clutter.
Yeah, that's a good word for it, clutter. It's just too many sometimes.
Yeah, when you actually have to... You need aids, and Paul's done a fantastic job of keeping us lined up with that, with the roster of who has what, and what the parameters of it are. But when you have to have that to watch the show, it's just too much. Yeah.
Yeah, at some point, you're trying to keep up with so much stuff, and I think it takes away from just enjoying what's happening and not trying to keep track of everything.
Okay, what is the big insight? What did you get?
Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Did you have any takeaways? Do you feel like you got any additional clarity?
Well, I really loved Paul's comparison between Q and Venus and their observations about the hide and seek. But I also think, even though I really liked to see that they were thinking, I really think it gave us more insight into them than it gave them realistic insight into the other players.
Yeah.
And so I think that was cute because I'm sure
willing, or they thought that this was a great representation of how they would approach the game.
Yeah.
Whereas with Tiffany, she was like, I don't care. These are adults playing hide and seek. What do I care if you find me? That's got nothing to do with how she plays the game.
I'm pretty sure that Q and Venus wouldn't want to be compared to each other or have any inclination that they were acting in a similar fashion.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, the consensus was Charlie was coming out of this pretty good, and I heard other people picking up on some things that I'd missed too. So, and I agree with Paul. I think Ben's going to disappear unless Kenzie keeps him on a lifeline.
And you see, Charlie, he's buddying up to pretty much everybody. He's not just, to run over and tell Tiffany
to drop that knowledge in the live tribal. Yeah.
Yep. And I thought, he's just kind of under the radar right now, and yet he is playing. So I'm liking what they're showing about Charlie.
He read the shaky six. As Josh called it, just right. Yeah, there was nothing really there. And from his perspective, he told us that Maria thought there was something there, but he wasn't seeing it, so he got a good read on it.
Well, and she's really liking it. And he's like,
She wanted to take it to the six. She thought it was a path there. So, yeah, that's a way of showing us that. And I love when they show instead of tell that her approach to things isn't as useful or practical as his.
Well, and that she completely trusted Q after he shared about Tiffany's idol with her.
Yeah, as far as she's concerned, she's brought in that much deeper, right?
Yeah,
that much more trusted.
Yeah. But I don't know about after this tribal. I'm very anxious to see what everyone thinks and feels about it and has to say to him. And I'm especially interested to see what Tiffany has to say to him. Mm-hmm. Because I've not noticed her hold back before, so...
Oh, she has. She's held back consciously. Remember, she was really upset when they were losing early on.
Too,
especially when Jess went out. That was a struggle for her. She didn't want to fall into a stereotype.
I would say she would have the least amount of patience with him.
Mm-hmm. Well, and she's got a big investment in him. and he's throwing it away. Oh, to save her, though.
I think he threw it away.
Yeah.
Already by targeting her. I'm not sure how much of that will come out that, well, he's the one that targeted you, but hopefully it will.
I'm with a lot of the feedback this week. I'm just anxious to see how this plays out post-tribal. I wonder how much of the total time of this upcoming episode they'll dedicate to that.
Well, and since they have 3 people for each of the old tribe lines, who's going to jump? Where are they going to go? Because I can't see Ben, Charlie, and Maria sticking together. I can't see Hunter. Hunter might stick close to Liz. I don't know about Venus. I really don't read him as well. He might. But really, I can't see Tiffany and Kinsey staying tight with Q. I mean, you just cannot trust him.
Wouldn't seem like it was in their interest, and she's going to have her hands full trying to deal with the fact that immunity idol's out there. Do you think Hunter is going to say something about his? Is he going to let folks in on it as a defensive,
I'm certainly hoping not. I think he's done the right thing. Just keep quiet.
Who's going to give him a heads up now, though?
Q.
He's missing the heads up.
Q will. He's part of the 6.
Nobody's going to tell. Nobody's going to tell Q anything.
Depends on what.
Hunter effectively lost Q and Tevin.
They would if someone decides to keep him in their group. They will tell him if the vote is Hunter.
Venus is going to be actively working against him because he dismissed her and told her to go away. He didn't want to have her part of that discussion before they went to tribal. So, that hurt her feelings.
Well, but, most people are telling her that. We don't want to work with you.
She was having a discussion with several people there on the beach while Hunter was trying to repair what Q had messed up.
Yeah, but it was Tiffany and Kinsey. I wasn't like Maria's already said, I don't want anything to do with you, and Q's already like, no. Yeah, I think Charlie is probably staying neutral, at least in front of them, to everybody right now, because he doesn't know which way he may have to go, and I think that's an excellent strategic move. So, and I think Kinsey's doing the same thing. She's interacting. You see her and Maria sitting out together on the beach laughing and things like that. I think she's playing a real good social game as well.
So we're down to 9. That means you need a 5 to have a solid shot because the extra votes are all gone now. So you need a 5 to take a majority shot at someone. Who do you think the 5's going to be?
Well, I would have said that Tiffany and Kinsey could go with the old Siga, except Tiffany and Maria. Maria wants her gone.
They were squaring off.
And so I don't think that can happen with Maria.
So where do Kinsey and Tiffany get a 5 if that's the case?
Well, I do think they can easily pull in Ben because him and Maria aren't jiving. That could change. Just that extra clip didn't make it look like that. Who else would they pull in? Maybe Liz.
So that's 4.
I think they could pull in Liz. There's 4, and I mean, come on, they can drag either Hunter or Venus. I mean, it might hurt to drag Venus, but they're not afraid of her. Like Tiffany said, nah, we don't have to worry about her. And, they don't, because nobody likes her. Nobody's going to vote for her, even if she goes to the final 3. So they could easily, I think, pull in Ben, maybe Liz and Venus, or Liz and Hunter, or maybe all of them, and just kind of see where it goes. If they believe, Tiffany as well as Kinsey, that Ben is 100% on board with them. So. But he's kind of under the radar a little more now because he doesn't win in challenges and he
poses no threat.
Doesn't appear to have a lot of strategy
His
or
strategy
even want to deal with it.
Was to chill.
Yeah, his is just we'll tell him who to vote for, and so I could see Kinsey persuading Tiffany to, we need Ben. He'll do whatever we say. And now whether he will or not, who knows?
For the chill, yes.
Yeah. But, there could be other options as well. But as fractured as Nami's always been.
And Q brought that fracture into Yanu.
Yes, he did. Silly man. Because I think that would have stayed pretty tight. But they've known for a while at some point he was going to mess up enough they were going to have to let go of him. And I think they're there now.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Time to say goodbye.
Yeah. And I think they have been networking and that they will have some other options.
Well, Kenzie executed on her plan, basically, to fall into the background.
Yeah, that's true.
For them not to call it. Q messed everything up and kind of brought attention to them, but none of that's going to stick on Tiffany or Kenzie.
Well, and they kind of backed off on being the ones to run the vote-offs.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Deliberately. I mean, that was a strategy, so.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Check.
Well, I think we've covered it.
Yeah, excited for Wednesday. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate it. We know that it takes time and effort to put together feedback like that, and we thoroughly enjoyed what you sent in, and we look forward to hearing from you. Also, we want to say a big thanks to Kim for your donation. We greatly appreciate your support. Thank you so much.
If you play in JSFL, remember to make your Week 9 picks for one person voted off and 4 people who you think will be safe at the end of the episode. And I am so anxious now. I'm like Jack. I'm ready to go. Come on Wednesday.
Let's see it. Yeah. How's this going to end? How's it going to play out from here?
Yeah. I really am.
What's his big explanation for this mess?
I'm ready for Q to go. So that's
There we go. All right. Have a good one.